I'm going to walk through how to do a mashup of a website and create that website in Charm. In classic Charm style, we're going to do a Charmception. So I'm going to actually create Charm's website using Charm data in Charm. So as always, we're going to start with a workspace. Need a place to have all this stuff. First and foremost, the most important thing is always have reference material about what it is that you're doing. It doesn't have to be the website copy, where of course that would be great to iterate and work on that to begin with. But in this case, what I'm going to do is just rope in my standard what is Charm document. It talks about all the things that are Charm, what we do and don't like, our pricing, all this stuff. So at least it has all the basic information. And then the next hard part about all this thing is to come up with examples. I'm going to use Anthropic and OpenAI. I'm going to basically create a baby if Anthropic and OpenAI came together. I'm going to create a baby of those two and see what it looks like. The hardest part, I would say, for me personally, because I'm a visual person, is to figure out what visual style I want. So looking at these two, you can kind of see a similar visual style in that there's simple fonts, lots of images, big and bold, flat style, rounded corners, flat style, etc. This has more illustrations. And so there's a number of ways to go from here to give your Charm some context. There's take screenshots. If you've never done this before, as far as I remember, I want run command. So you can do a full size screenshot. And what that will do is effectively do a scrolling screenshot. And you can take these and use them. It's actually not a bad idea to give it a feel for color and look and feel and so forth. And then the other way to do this is that you can just right click inspect. You can get rid of this, that you can just literally grab the body and copy it. And so because I do a lot of this, we actually created a tool for this. So under Do More Than Dream, we have the clipboard viewer. And what that allows you to do is to read what's in your clipboard. So in this case, you can see that all I copied was all the HTML, just literally as it is. So it has all of the CSS. Notice how big this is. It's got JavaScript. It's got everything in here. So it may not be what you actually want. It might not be the thing that you're looking at. So what I have found to be the most useful is, oh, and I should reload this. I was looking earlier. So if I just do a Command A and then a Command C, and then look at this in my clipboard viewer, you can see that there's both the text of the page, but I actually want the HTML because I want the layout. This is too big. Anything over a meg, well, one, you can't paste into a Charm document anything bigger than a meg. And second, it's just too big for your agents to read anyway, your Charms. So what I found out by just doing a little looking is that this thing is actually its own SVG, like a massive SVG, which is great for them. It actually is performing and everything else. But what we're going to do is just literally delete it. And so when we Command A, and then we read from the clipboard again, what you'll see is that it's much, much, much smaller. So that's great. I'm going to copy this. Actually, but before I copy it, and this is a little bit of a nuance right now, our code block. So if you do section here, Anthropic, if you just do a usual code block, 3 ticks and a space, these code blocks are designed for a small amount of code. We're going to come up with a more optimized version in the future. But for right now, what you have to do is, and we're going to publish this on the main page, but you look for the prototype, for the code mirror prototype. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, which is what we're actually going to end up integrating into the platform. But before we do that, we always put them in these prototypes. So I'm just going to have this code block here. And then what I can do now is I can go back here. I can just copy this, and then I can paste it into this thing here. And so, and actually, let me just make this a little bit smaller because we don't really care too much. And so all of the goo that I just copied in there is currently in here. You see that? And also it's in the app state, which means my dude can see it when he talks to it. So I'm going to do that with Anthropic. I'm going to do the same thing with OpenAI. And I also can decide how much of this I want. So for example, I can just grab the body. I can grab the whole page so it has the navigation and so forth. But in this case, I'm going to just make this super easy. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy the whole darn thing. So again, Command A, Command C, go over here to my clipboard viewer, read the clipboard. I'm going to get the HTML. This is big. I would almost say it's too big right now because to try to get all this in here, let me see if there's anything obvious in here that would be why this is so darn big. Isn't that crazy that you have nearly a megabyte for a page that is as simple as this? Very weird. Well, let's give it, so we'll do two things here again. Let's just copy this from up there. Let's just paste it down here. Okay, that's clear. Great. And then I'm going to go again back to here. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go to my clipboard viewer, read from it, grab this. I'm going to fingers crossed that this isn't going to be overwhelming to my dude. And so now we have basically the two examples that I'm going to use for this. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go to our application dude. And there's kind of what I would normally do. And let me just do it. That way you can kind of see what's going on here. As I'd normally put my notes in here. We're looking to create a new CharmIQ website as a mashup of the two examples found below. Extract CSS into style tag. Don't use inline styles unless completely necessary. So the reason I have to put that is these are all inline styles, because when you copy, that's literally what it does for you. Even though it keeps the class components, it takes all the styles and it flattens them. What's nice about this is that it does do that. It actually flattens all the styles, so you don't have to worry about all that info. But your dude's gonna use this as an example. He's gonna do the same thing, and it's not gonna be useful going forward. So we just tell him to extract the CSS. And normally we would spend a little, so we want to cover two things. One is what are we doing? And then these are like the technical mumbo jumbo. Let's see, what else do we want to do? Okay. That should be enough for now. We're shooting for flat style, modern, elegant. If there are images that you need, then use them from the examples, but put the image prompt for what you're looking for into the alt tag. What's really kind of fun about this is if the dude needs an image, he'll just mooch an image from here as a placeholder. Examples, placeholder. But you can actually have it generate the image prompt for you to then later generate the images. Just put it in the alt tag. And it's actually also useful as that alt tag, because then you can just keep it there. And that way for visually impaired, et cetera, they'll know what the image is because that's what was used to generate it. Okay, I think that's a good start. So what we're going to do is basically create an application website as defined in the document. Use the information about CharmIQ from the reference material. We're looking more for style than necessarily content. So I would highly recommend that you typically separate these two things. Find the aesthetic that you want before you really deep dive into it. I would also recommend building basically two pages and then collapsing them down. And then, well, I'll go through it as I go through it. But generally speaking, there's like different page styles that you have, like a pricing page, a fact page, a legal page. And you want to, we can kind of look through these things here. Like they have research pages, which have this kind of a look, which you may want. So you have to kind of figure out the types of pages that you're looking for. And in general, I would always create two of these pages and then extract out a common style and then use that to basically regenerate the pages. So you end up doing this in iterative style. Sometimes you can get it in one shot if you're looking for a one-shot page. And I guess we can probably say that. We're looking for a single hero style page for CharmIQ. It should be all in a standard startup style page. Okay. In theory, like this is enough to get started. We've got our examples. We got everything we need. And we're gonna kick our dude off. Now this will take a little bit of time because these two things were big. And it might just be that these two things combined, especially again, how big the OpenAI one was too big. And we might have to chop some stuff out as we go through. But again, I've gotten much better, especially when it comes to layouts, especially complicated layouts, doing this than I have just using screenshots. When I use screenshots, I typically get the charms, the LLMs tend to not do really well with complicated layouts. And so again, I get much better bang for my buck when I provide the dude with HTML to begin with. And so he can really leverage that to build what they need to build. In this case, normally what I would do in the dull times is like really start to hammer out what the things that I need to think about next. Again, are there multiple pages? What are those pages? I would start looking for them. Are there different types of navigation that I'm going to need? Like, is there a blog and that has like a index page and then sub pages? And I guess this is kind of that similar thing. So in this case, these are kind of like blog pages and these are completely different. I would, once you get your main look and feel down, so what are the colors, what are the background, once you've extracted all that, like your headers, then I would build this as a separate process. Because this, and I would have content in which to do this on, because you have to basically figure out all of your elements. So in this case, this has a header, basically a hero, the body, which has its own requirements, the fact that the images are beyond the edges. All of these things you need to take into account while you're kind of building through this. They all have a caption. There's typically a footer that has all the other articles and things like that, and a bigger footer for the entire site as a whole. And again, these are the things that you kind of need to figure out as you're going through this. All right, we got a blue, which is good. Our dude, we make sure blue basically means it cares where your cursor is. So we're going to put our cursor in the right location. And we're going to hit go. And we're going to keep our thumbs crossed. And I would say, just from what I'm looking at, this is not bad. He did what I asked, which is he mooched an image. It used our content. It's got our stuff on the top. You know, this is not bad for first pass. Not bad at all. But what this really, again, the fact that they can build these things in single shots, the fact that I have, this is a little bit of motion, the fact that I had all this content in my, wow, this is actually nice. It looks much more like Anthropic than it does OpenAI, which is actually really interesting. But again, it's pretty, like, this is pretty solid. What I would do now is actually see, did he put, yeah. So like I said, he put in here. So in this case, it would be something, we can just go through this actually. It's kind of funny that we can kind of iterate on this. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to use my dude here, do me a solid. If there are image tags with alt with image prompts in them, make a list of those below. I'm going to use my all-purpose guy. I like to not use any of my creative people when I'm not doing a creative task, because sometimes they do get creative while doing that non-creative task. So my all-purpose guy is pretty rock solid. That's the only one. So great. What's amazing about this, and again, what's really just stellar about Charm, is now I can just take this, I can go here. I'm not giving it any kind of feedback or anything. I'm just going in raw. I'm going to use probably a fast generate. Now, as I look through these things, I start to think about it, what kind of aspect ratio and so forth I want. It looks relatively square up there, otherwise 4:3, but I use a 1:1. And these are the things that you would start iterating on now, which is, again, like, do you need a square image? What does it look like? As we kind of pop this open, is it reactive the way that you want it to be? So as we shrink this down, how does it look? And notice that these modern things, it does a bang up job, just a bang up job in terms of making this work on mobile, and slightly larger, like iPad kind of aspects. Like, it looks good. I would almost say maybe this is too crowded and we would tell it to like reduce it down to 2. But like, not too bad at all. Not bad at all. And if we're kind of really fun, we can just do a Control Option P, and effectively it makes the thing full enough screen. So we can look what this looks like on a fullish screen, which is kind of nice. Hit Escape to get out. So I'll just do this for example's sake. Like, it's not exactly what I want, but it's pretty cool. And so thing to note here is like this stuff, this is big, right? These were pretty darn big. What I would typically do at this point is I would create a new document, and I would basically move these things into like a detailed document that I can pull in as reference material if I ever need to, and I need to iterate on this thing again. And let me just go through that like super duper fast here, just so you see what I'm saying. I usually keep the same base name here, and then I would do details. And now I can just pull this out, and now I would only then include it in the reference material. Oops, you're right. That is exactly why we're doing this. And the undo is because it's too big. This is something. Oh, look at that! We found a bug. Perfect. Perfect. It's great that happened. Because this is one of the ones we were looking for. So it actually happened as we were doing it. Well, now I'm slightly hosed. So the long and short of that is you should have copied those one at a time. So sorry. And again, we will get to that. We'll get to that bug. But the main point is, again, what I would do is I would pull this in so I don't forget about it, and I would disable it, and now it's there whenever I need to. And again, just to walk you through like another step here, what I would do is we just generated for the hero image, grab update the application. And again, this is just, it's crazy that this is a thing that you can do. Is we literally had the dude go through the thing. I didn't have to like look for it myself. We highlighted it. We can come up with a bunch of iterations. We can do a whole bunch of stuff. This guy found him. We generated him. Now this guy's just going to go up there and he's going to put it back in. And anything else? And there it is. If that isn't like crazy, then I don't know what is. So it always uses emoji, which is great because then you can just kind of get placeholders for it. But what I like to use is, just because we use them a lot, is React icons. This site is great because it just has a zillion icons. And then I typically like to use these because they cover lots and lots of cases. So let's go here. Let's go to the icons. And you know what I don't know? I don't know. Let's try this really quickly here. Using, so let's do this. Use a new feature here. So put a breakpoint. Can you read all of the icon names? So we're going to use the web fetch. Basically, this is just a generic dude using any of the Claude models, and you turn on web fetch. And what that does is this dude, bummer. Oh, interesting. So I learned something new every day. How much information that they provide from each of these. So when you use web fetch, Anthropic has to decide how much info to give their dude, and there's a lot of icons here. There's 1,600 of them. So it's interesting to see what they have access to. And so we actually built another utility here. So in the same way I showed you this prototype, basically in the same directory, we have a fetch tool, except for it's not a prototype. I don't have a prototype yet. So let's go to our fetch. It's still one of our experiments rather than move to a prototype. So what I'm going to do is just copy this. This is more just to show you something than it is to do anything else. So what this allows me to do is I can actually fetch this. So, oops, come on. Don't be a pain in my butt. I don't know why that happens from time to time, but it does. Super annoying. All right, so, oops, that doesn't want it. Go. And then he grabbed the page. Super interesting. And then what it does is, does this dude expose it to the page? Yeah, he exposes it to the page. Okay, so what now I can do is just use this. Can you see? Can you tell me some of the icon names from the sake of, because what I don't know if they're all in there. Like I literally have to scroll to see if they're in the text. We'll see if the dude can find them in there. And all I'm trying to do right now is it's trying to find good quality icons is a pain, and the dudes can't really generate them. So if I wanted to replace all of these things with icons, I could have two choices. I can either generate images for each of them, which is not really what I'm looking for, or I can actually find icons that do. Okay, so great. Just found a lot of stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, okay. Great. Now let's see if I can do a crazy mashup here. Look at the web page at the top of this document and find the section that needs icons. So basically the intelligence applied section, and go through the LUC icons and find me the names that seems to fit with what I need. Hopefully that made sense to him. I know what I'm talking about. Now, let me just use my all-purpose tag. And I don't need no thinking. I just need a dude to do work. What I don't know now if that's like too much to go in the context window, but we'll find out in a second. Because normally what I would do is just what I did here with the images. I would just say, hey, extract what you need and what kind of images you want. But in this case, I'm going to go big. We're just going to see if it can do this whole thing. Okay. Oh, great. Look at that. It's hammering it away. What I don't think the actual SVG is in there. So, and I'm actually kind of like learning stuff as I go here. Crazy question, but can you get the SVGs from the above code or figure out how to get them? So I'm just trying to be lazy here, which is like it found the ones that we might want. And again, isn't that crazy that it can literally go through your document, find the section we're talking about, find the icons that are there, all these things, come up with examples of them using this as that example. Crazy. It's doing a whole lot. So in theory, we should be able to do this and this. And there it is. How funny is that? So okay. So I could have my dude do this. You know what? I don't know that we exposed that yet, that functionality. Let me just take a quick peek here. Like all the mind-blowing stuff that this thing does. Okay, we're not advertising it. I could show you a world in which the dude could actually update this thing based on these things, and then we could grab the SVG from it. I wonder if that's useful enough to do. All right, we're gonna do it. Like this is a little crazy and a little off topic, but I'm a crazy dude and definitely an off topic dude. Okay, so I'm gonna use my application assistant and I'm gonna say, hey, because that's the way I am. Update the code mirror application and advertise the ability to set the URL that we want to fetch and also set and also able to call go. Any questions? And I would just say, as always, like even in the case before, we just had a one-shot website that we created. But what I would normally say is you should always say, hey, ask questions and so forth, because if you don't tell it to ask questions, it is not going to ask questions. So what we wanted to do is if it's got problems before it does anything, it should ask us questions. So basically, we have the ability from a command. So within using one of your charms, you have the ability to perform functions on existing applications. And so what we're really doing right now is we're giving this application the ability to do this. And so what did it do? Yep, it basically advertised. Yep, it's doing the right thing. It's doing the right thing. All right, this is crazy. Okay. Hold on to your butt, because here we go. Take the first SVG URL from the bottom of the document and set it as the URL and get its contents. Theory, this should work, which is really crazy. We'll see what happens. It's a crazy world if this would work. Again, it should work. Yeah, it set it to the first one, and yeah, it got it. As I would say, boom, done. Okay, so now we literally have this here. So now, if you really hold on to your butt here. Okay, so using that app state, update the web page the with that SVG. Yeah, just I can't believe that I can possibly do this. So we gave our dude the ability to go to the internet and download things. Basically, he went into that web page, he got this SVG, and now what he's supposed to be able to do now is now he's just going to update this thing with that SVG. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Okay, all righty. So hey, when you added the Go to the application, does that Go return the contents to you? So what's interesting is when it goes, it has the ability to just go as a one shot and call it done, or it actually has the ability to go and return the contents of this thing to itself. It can use those contents. So in this really, really strange world, yeah, dude, then you'll know and be able to immediately use that content. Awesome. Okay, this is crazy. So he's now going to add the ability to this so that when he gets it back, it's actually going to give him content. And so that way he doesn't have to then kind of do a back and a forth in order to get that information. Because right now he has to actually run the thing, wait for it to be done, and then read the page again, and then figure out what it has. Okay, so you know what I'm gonna ask for. So let's do it. Take the next URL for the SVG, use what you just did to get it, and then update the web page. And sorry, I always add a little bit of fun commentary to it. Otherwise, my job is really boring and dry. So obviously, I didn't need to put all of this information in there. So he did it. He called it. In theory, this command right here got back this information, which means that he should now literally be able to go in here and update this web page with that, which is mind-boggling, by the way. And there it is. Okay, man. Okay. Go wild. Do the rest. And let's see, which one did he use for this? He said to use layout grid, which looks like that, which is exactly what he put up in there. So again, I'll just to reiterate what the devil happened here. He's now literally updating this, whatever the heck it is, this thing with the results. So he's just going along. He replaced this one with the target, and he's just hammering along. He's going in, he's grabbing the thing, he's running Go, he's putting these URLs in here. Which one are we on? We just did component. He should be on Sparkles next. Just did component, which you can see there. Sparkles, which you can see. Again, he's just, you think about your agentic future and like, we're in the middle of it, man. This dude is just going along, replacing pages. I should mention that the reason this guy's in auto execute mode is that we have this on. Yeah, he's just going through and replacing them. So obviously we don't have to wait for this to finish. I just wanted to show you really how it's possible to create all of the tools for your dude to use and just go through them and do them. I will leave you with this and just say, by the way, like this is a solid first pass at a website. I would, do some work on this stuff because it's a little dead and white spacey here. And obviously, it's got different pages that we may or may not want. And we should decide whether we want these or not. But like, again, this is a solid looking website. The fact that the header here is locked in place, sticky, etc. I guess the final thing I should say is you would just copy this thing and then put it, if you want to dump it in Git, we'll have Git support coming soon, etc. Like you have the ability to to now just deploy this as a website if you wanted to. And I guess one more thing, I should make sure this dude is done. Yep, done all 6. Great. I just use one of my layer dudes. Hopefully this was useful. Man, if you wanted a mashup that looks just like Anthropic, this is a pretty solid site. Good luck.